In the morning yesterday, I was basically feeling like I can't do this again. I don't want to do this again because it's just so sad. Hey guys, it is Sunday morning. Right now I'm sitting in my car outside of Grant's office. He had to run in really quick to check on someone. He's on call this weekend, and it's just a super quick visit. And we have plans to go to IKEA because yesterday we were shopping around for some different storage items we've been really needing and also putting off looking for. And I got the idea, let's just look at IKEA. Let's just look, because I think both of us kind of feel like we're past the point of IKEA, but I think that's also kind of wrong, you know? I think IKEA actually does have some good stuff. Yes, it's not like forever furniture and it might not be the best quality, but they have some really useful stuff and it can really come in handy. And Grant had picked this one dresser from, I think, CB2, or it could have been Crate & Barrel, I can't remember. And the minute I looked at it, it was just kind of a plain white, very sleek, modern, basic dresser. I looked at it and I said, that looks like IKEA. Let's look at IKEA. I bet you anything they have an identical dresser. And so we looked on IKEA, and they did. And then we found a couple of other things, and we were trying to order it online just to have it shipped to the house because we don't have a very big car. But this one dresser wasn't available to ship, but it is available in the store. So we decided to just come out and look at it. And honestly, a trip to IKEA might be most people's nightmare. But for me, right now, after the week that we've had, I am welcoming it with open arms. I just want to get lost in IKEA because it's just been such a roller coaster of emotions. There's got to be a better way to say that, but you know what I mean. Since my egg retrieval and leading up to my egg retrieval. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't been following along on the vlog or on my Instagram story, I share a lot there too, especially through this last week because I only vlog on the weekends. We are doing IVF and we just went through a whole stimulation cycle that stimulates your eggs, grows your follicles, and that all leads up to a egg retrieval. And that's when they take the eggs out and then they put them together and they fertilize them and they watch them and they observe the quality and how they're growing and if they're normal and everything. And then that leads up to either a fresh transfer or freezing and then like a frozen transfer. There's actually a lot of different ways that you can do IVF, but our plan has been freezing and then a transfer about like a month and a half later. So it's been crazy. My egg retrieval was on Wednesday. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. A lot has happened. I kind of feel like I want to launch into it all right now and tell you the whole story, but I feel like I should wait and maybe do it with Grant. I'll see how he feels about that. He might not want to tell the whole story with me, but we should probably wait until I'm home and I can sit down and tell you everything and update you on everything that's happened so far. Part of the reason why I didn't want to vlog yesterday was because we were getting a lot of news. We were waiting on a lot of news yesterday. Yeah, it wasn't good news. It wasn't the news that we wanted to hear. We've gotten a good bit of bad news. There has also been good news, don't get me wrong, but we have definitely gotten our fair share of bad news through this week. And yeah, I've been discouraged. I've been hopeful. I've had major highs, major lows. And I definitely feel like I'm in a much better place to actually vlog today, definitely over yesterday, and definitely over the day before, and the day before, and the day before. So I'll tell you the whole story. I'll update you on everything. I feel like I'm at a better place. Things aren't better, but I feel like I'm at a better place and I'm not so emotional about everything. But that's what's going on. I'm waiting for Grant. We're gonna go to IKEA. We're gonna see the dresser. Maybe get a dresser. We've needed a dresser for a very long time. So that'll be a nice step forward in actually feeling like our home is more furnished and organized. We'll talk later. All right, here's the man with the plan. He's come to save the day.
Smooth.
We've gotten Starbucks twice in like a week.
I'm addicted.
What's happening to us?
I'm addicted.
We're different people.
I get the appeal now.
Really?
I don't know, I feel like kind of when you're like low carb and on a diet, like
You gotta
your
treat
energy
yourself.
level takes a hit.
Oh,
and
definitely.
So the coffee's definitely more. I used to never drink coffee.
Me either. I haven't been
Yeah.
drinking coffee in years.
Yeah.
But I have started just recently. Not a lot of coffee, but just like one. Anyway, right now we're about to head to IKEA. See what that's like.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
Got my walking shoes on.
I do have to say, I have not been keeping up with low carb. I've been cheating, but I've got reasons, and I will explain everything later when we get home. I will show you what happened to me.
No.
Because it wasn't my fault. It was my fault, you know. This is so cute. And then on the other side, even cuter. IKEA was a mistake.
So your class of 2020.
Krishna Bhakta.
It's your song! Are you loving every minute of it? I got my comment all ready to go when she pops up. Woo! You did it, Luna Bean. There she is. All right, we're back home. I actually just got up from a nap. I got super tired after we had lunch and we watched Kristen's graduation ceremony. It was a virtual graduation ceremony. We are so proud of her, so excited for her. Obviously, it's kind of a letdown to graduate virtually. You don't get to walk across the stage. She's worked so hard for this, and I'm so excited for her, so proud of her. I hope she is so proud of herself. Her personality is not one to be super proud of herself, but I hope that she is, because she's worked so hard for this. And I was excited that we at least got to have some kind of ceremony for her. And I don't know, at the end, whenever they had the Casey Musgrave song and everyone in their masks, it was like, I don't know, of course it's happy, but it was also, you know, obviously kind of sad. But overall, I am so happy for her, so happy for all of the 2020 graduates. It hasn't been fair for them on any level, but I'm happy for her. And we're back home, obviously. I'm awake, finally, and I feel like I have my second wind, so we're gonna sit down and talk about everything. Grant said that he is interested in helping me talk through all of this. I took notes, so we're gonna sit down at the kitchen table. I guess this is just what we do when we're sitting down and talking about something big for the vlog. Okay, so I took notes because a lot happened in the last week, and if I'm missing any details, I really want you to speak up.
Okay.
I know you don't like to like butt in, but I want you to speak up, and if you have different memories or if there's details I'm missing, I really do want you to speak up, because I do want to tell you all the dirty details. I want to give you the blow by blow. It might be too much, but that's what I feel like doing right now, and I'm gonna do it. Doesn't it feel like so long ago that we did the egg retrieval?
Yeah,
It feels like a week ago.
It feels like longer than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels like it's over. Like it's not like I almost forget that like
We're still working
in the
on
middle
this.
of it.
This is
Yeah.
still something that is ongoing. We're still waiting for a call tomorrow. But to back up, we did our egg retrieval on Wednesday morning. So that means we were going in Sunday, Monday, and then they told us that I was ready. The sonogram, the blood work all added up to do the trigger shot Monday night, and then Tuesday morning, exactly 12 hours later, and then, you know, do some other shots and everything, continue some of that stuff, but not all of it. So then the egg retrieval was 11:30 on Wednesday, and it's a surgery. It is a more minor surgery, but they do put you under, and I was surprisingly nervous for it. I guess I hadn't fully like visualized what this is gonna look like. Like, this is for real surgery. You're gonna be like suited up and you have to walk into the room and like lay down, and it's like, that's the room where you're about to like go under, and it's like going under, that's kind of makes you nervous. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
for me it does. I've never done it before. It felt like it went perfectly fine. I was awake within an hour, or at about an hour. Called Grant because of course he wasn't allowed to come in or anything, and so we had to call him to get him to come back and take me home because I can't drive, obviously. And when I woke up, I was definitely in pain, and they gave me a prescription, and I was feeling groggy, but okay, all of that is expected. I went home, I was still in pain, and we just rested, relaxed. It was a bed day. We watched Mad Men pretty much all day.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. I mean, I was very uncomfortable, but since I expected it, you know, it was okay. Like, if you know what's coming, it always makes it a little bit easier. And then, but the biggest news that we got from the day of the retrieval was that we got 28 eggs. So they actually tell you that even before you leave, before you're discharged. And that sounds like great news, right? I felt like it was great news. I was a little bit worried that it meant that I was going to be hyperstimulated, which is something that can give you a ton of really bad side effects that can put you in the hospital. It can be really, really bad, really painful, just a horrible thing to go through. And I was worried about that because I've seen that happen and I just didn't want to have to go through that. But beyond everything, I was happy. Obviously, you want more rather than less. If you know how IVF works, every step of the way, it can go down. Actually, it pretty much always does go down. So if you start with a higher number, it's more promising, ideally. So
yeah, up to a certain, I think up to a certain number, it's promising. But I think once you get up to that higher level, then you're more at risk for having abnormal and immature follicles.
So that's where we were Wednesday. Then Thursday, we're expecting our day 1 call. They don't really count day of surgery as day 1. That's like day 0. So day 1, you get a call. Day 3, you get a call. And then day 6, you get a call. This can change. IVF can be different for everybody, but this was our plan. So day 1 was Thursday. We get our call, and what they're telling us is how many of the eggs actually fertilized. And we were doing traditional IVF where they just kind of like put them in a room together. I don't know if that's exactly how it happens, but they just kind of like get everybody together and see what happens.
Right.
And this is our first piece of very discouraging news. But of course, this is not worst case scenario, of course. But it wasn't what we wanted to hear, basically. So 4 of our eggs had fertilized normally and were looking good. So 4 out of the 28. And then I have to look at my notes because it gets complicated.
So in 4, usually you want, if you got 28, you would expect about
10 to 15.
10 to 15 of those fertilized. And so they were already like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
The staff was telling us that.
Oh yeah, so I do have to say that. Grant had actually left the house for a second. Just had to go away for a second. And of course, that's when the embryologist called. And she started the conversation with, this is not what we expected at all. And of course, that's not what you want to hear. And I very much appreciate the transparency and the honesty. Like, I love that. I don't want anybody to sugarcoat things for me. I want the real story. I want to know what really happened. So I do really appreciate that. But obviously, it's not what you want to hear. We want to hear, oh, they all fertilized and they all look strong and healthy and they're just like completely perfect.
Yeah.
But she said, this is not what we expected at all. And you really almost had like an apologetic tone in a way. Not that she was apologizing that she did anything wrong or anything like that. But 4 of them fertilized. And then other than that, there were 15 that were just immature. They weren't ready. They weren't the right size. And then 5 of them were mature but didn't fertilize, but they did have sperm around. So they kind of had hope for them. But it's kind of like question mark, why are these not fertilizing? And then 4 were what she said was degenerate. And of course I asked, what do you mean by degenerate? And she said dead. Yeah. And either they could have died overnight or they came out dead. And so obviously, hopefully those numbers add up. It was a crazy call. You know, it's a lot to take in, and I was taking notes furiously. And then, you know, by the end of the call, I was like, you have to explain all of this to my husband when he gets home. He got home like 5 minutes later, and she did the whole spiel again, which was really, really helpful for Grant because I wanted him to hear everything. And, you know, I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah, and the math gets really confusing because different people, as we talk to them, have kind of used different numbers for different groups. So it's we're still confused.
It wasn't completely clear.
And it doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, all the numbers don't necessarily matter because the only ones you really care about are the ones that are good,
doing well.
Doing well.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
But that's why the numbers don't add up.
That's why.
Because
that's just how it's been. And we've asked questions along the way, and that's just the way it's been. The other thing that was very interesting to me was she said, this is the hardest egg retrieval I've ever done. So my actual doctor, you know, pulled out the cells, but then there's an embryologist that does the process of separating out the eggs and, you know, having a little get together with the sperm and all of that. And she's the one that did that, the woman that was calling me. And she said it's the hardest one she's ever done, and it's because of the cumulus cells that are around the egg, and they're supposed to, I think, provide nutrition and protection. I've never heard of these cells before. This was not ever part of things that we learned along the way preparing for this. So it was new information. Apparently those cells were very abnormal. They were thick, they were hard to work with, and it was very hard for her to pick up the eggs. And she said that she didn't really know if this situation with the cells is something that caused so many of these eggs to be immature, but maybe it was kind of just like, you could tell it was kind of something that she was trying to work out in her head because she'd never seen something like that, which again, that is not what you want to hear. You do not want to hear that you're this special case, that we don't know what to do with this, because it makes you feel a little bit hopeless and definitely discouraged because you feel like they don't have a good plan for you. And obviously this was just a phone call. It doesn't, you know, speak for everyone that works there. It doesn't actually mean that they don't have a plan for me, but in that moment, that's how it felt.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, because this is like a week long, after you get the eggs out, it's like a week long process of growing them and all this stuff, and you're just sort of on pins and needles, like, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And so now we're getting, like, every time they call, they're like, it's getting bad. It's not a hopeless situation, but it's just like, what does this mean? They're like, oh, we're confused, we don't know what's going on. Yeah. And we're kind of like, well, but what do we take away from all this? It's hard to... Exactly.
And when I was on the phone with her initially, she kept saying, this is not what we expected. So I had to ask, what did you expect? And she said, like Grant said, about 10 to 15 would definitely be mature, and hopefully around that same number would be fertilized. And obviously we didn't get anywhere close to that.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, it was definitely disappointing. And that was a really hard day. It's not what we wanted to hear. And also that day I was feeling awful.
Yeah.
And it is not expected, but it's definitely a possibility, and it's not rare to feel worse before you feel better after the retrieval. She told me to expect like 2 to 4 days, and that has ended up being true. But in my brain, being so, you know, focused on, I don't want hyperstimulation, I was very concerned that I was getting that. I think I was up like 8 pounds that second day and super bloated. It was painful, and I guess I didn't expect it to be so painful on the second day because that's not what anyone had told me. Then it was just like this like deep pain when I would move around, and my belly is huge. I've never seen my belly like that. If you follow me on Instagram, I showed it on my story just because honestly, there's part of me that's just like, I gotta get a kick out of this on some level, just because like my body is no longer mine. Like, we're doing experiments on me at this point, and it's just like,
yeah.
No, literally at this point.
Literally, yeah.
So, okay, going back to the Thursday call with the embryologist, she pretty much said, your doctor is basically expecting you to call because this is not what we expected, this is not a good result, and expected that we would not be happy and we would want more answers. So we ended up talking to the doctor later on in the day at like 5, and she said a lot of the same things. This is not what we expected.
We had a bunch of questions for the embryologist when we called, and then we had a bunch of questions for our doctor when we called, and basically all the gist of it was, you know, is there anything we can do, you know, now to sort of try to, anything extra we can do to try to like rescue and sort of make something up out of this and catch up a little bit. And so they were wanting to see if there were any of those extra ones that were still kind of cooking, what's going to happen with them. So I suggested we do what's called an ICSI, where you inject the sperm directly into the egg to see if any of those ones that, you know, grew.
And usually that is kind of an add-on procedure that you can do if there are some issues with the sperm. And if they do tests along the way before you get into any of these fertility treatments to kind of try to pinpoint the issue. And we have never had any tests come back for Grant saying that that was the issue. So our doctor didn't say that we needed that, because it is an extra cost. It is an extra thing. And you know, if you don't need it, you don't need it. But we knew about it, so Grant had that idea.
And that's something that you go into the day of. Typically when you're doing a retrieval, they're going to do that immediately. Mm-hmm. And so this was something that they were like, When
we talked to the doctor on Thursday afternoon, we brought this question up. She didn't bring it up. Grant had a lot of ideas. I was actually so impressed, because when I talked to the embryologist, by the end of the conversation, she was like, your doctor's probably, you know, expecting your call. And I was just like, what am I gonna say? I was just feeling defeated, I guess, and kind of, I don't know, there's a certain dynamic with like you and your doctor and getting news, and you kind of feel like, all right, well, I guess that's all there is if they don't give you more information or offer you more options. And that's kind of how I was feeling. But then when Grant got on the phone with the embryologist, he had a lot more ideas, and he brought up those same ideas with the doctor, including that one. And that's the one that got a maybe. And she said, I'm going to talk to them in the morning, and they're going to check those immature embryos. So I think it was like 13. I'm not sure.
And this is not something she didn't suggest it because she was holding out on us. It's just very atypical, because most of the time those, if we had had a normal amount of embryos fertilized, they would have tossed everything else. Mm-hmm. And so it wouldn't be something like, oh, we need to do some more. It was just because this was a exceptional circumstance that this was even offered, and knowing going into it that the you know, likelihood of success was low.
We were waiting for that call Friday morning from the embryologist, and they called. Actually, I don't think it was an actual embryologist that called us, but she called us to let us know Grant could come in and leave a sample, and we were doing like a rescue ICSI for those eggs that looked like they had matured overnight. I think they said 13. Again, does it add up? Not completely. But that's what I had in my notes. And it looked like they did mature. So this is the call we really wanted. So this is another high on the roller coaster, because the day before we were visualizing, we were thinking about it, we were praying, we were hoping, we were really, really hoping for the best, because oh, we have another shot. Like, there is one more option we can take advantage of. So it gave us another shot of hope, and we got that call, and we were so happy. And obviously Grant went in, did his thing, and I was also scheduled to go in because I was having these bad symptoms. And on the sheet that they give you, like, you know, the section is like aftercare, when to call your doctor, like if you have a fever, if it's like this, that, and it said if you gain 3 to 5 pounds overnight, and I had definitely done that. So I just wanted to stay on top of it, especially because it was right before the weekend. So I went into the doctor, did a sonogram and vitals. They checked me, and they saw the fluid in my belly, the blood supply to my ovaries, and everything looked pretty normal. Yes, I was super bloated, but they weren't worried. And I was starting to feel better by that point, but I just wanted to be safe, you know? So at that point, we're feeling super hopeful. I'm starting to feel the tiniest bit better, but definitely still very out of it.
So then on Saturday we got so this is our day 3 update. Now it's kind of confusing because some of those embryos are really like day 2 or day 1 really.
They're day 1s.
Day 1s. And so
we have 2 different timelines going at that point.
Well,
which
3.
Is weird. 3.
The first group of 4, only one of those is good, and but it's good. It's an A class, so it's like very good. Of the second group of the fertilized later, there's 2, but they're like average grade or low grade. And then of the 13 they did the ICSI on, 10 fertilized, but they're all abnormal. And so I think that we're going to continue to grow those, but those are probably not going to work. So basically at this point we're looking at 3. Yeah. And so as of recording now, we haven't got, you know, that was yesterday, even though it feels like 1,000 years ago.
It really does.
So next call should be on Tuesday, but we're probably going to hear from them tomorrow. You know.
Yeah, we're kind of off schedule. Day 6 would be Tuesday, if we were going by the regular timeline. But since we have some that are a little bit behind schedule, we could probably go into like Wednesday, maybe Thursday. That was the summary of everything that happened. Best case scenario right now, we have 3 healthy embryos. That's best case scenario. But if you know about IVF, there is basically a little timeline of, okay, some of them fall away each step of the way. And you know, if you're doing genetic testing, if you're doing freezing, all of those come with their own set of risks to the embryos. But there's also risks not doing it. So there's always like a balancing act of, you know, do we want to take the risk freezing? Do we want to take the risk doing a fresh transfer? Because there's just a lot to know about it. It was just very, very hard getting that call yesterday. Obviously, it's not what we wanted to hear after the high on Friday of getting so much hope of like, we can do this rescue ICSI. And when Grant went in, actually, of course, he had to go in by himself. I had to go in by myself. The embryologist that he talked to said, we've never done this before. We've never done a day 2 rescue ICSI. Right. They'd done it on day 1 before, but never day 2, which is understandable. It wasn't part of the plan. You work out your plan long before you get started. And this was just kind of a special case for us, which I really appreciate them going out of their way and trying something new and just kind of trying anything they could, because we made it clear that that's what we wanted to do. Like, we will try anything to salvage or keep these eggs going, get these embryos healthy and where they need to be. Because of course, when you go into IVF, the dream scenario is you get enough embryos in the freezer that you can come back after you have a successful, happy pregnancy, happy, healthy baby, and then you can have more babies. And you don't have to go through many stimulations, because stimulation is hard, egg retrieval is hard. The transfer, I'm sure, is also hard. I don't know. But what we've been through so far, it was 2 months and it wasn't easy. No. I'd say for me, the hardest part was getting used to taking metformin, which I'm used to it now. I'm still taking it now, and taking the birth control. And actually last night we had a couple friends come over because they're looking to buy a house in Dallas, and they've been through IVF and they've seen it all. And you know, it was really just kind of a coincidence that they were in town looking for houses again, right when we're in the middle of this, the day that we got this call that was pretty crushing and very discouraging, at least. But they had so much advice, so many encouraging words. It really couldn't have come at a more perfect time, basically. And in the morning yesterday, I was basically feeling like, I can't do this again. I don't want to do this again, because it's just so sad. Because it's definitely nothing like losing a baby, losing a kid, having a miscarriage. It's not like that. I know it's not like that, but it's kind of having your dreams smashed. But at the same time, I do have to say, our dreams are not smashed. We do still have embryos. We have one really good embryo. We have 2 that are considered average. We got embryos. We don't have nothing. No one told us there's no hope. But it's just been a lot of bad news, I guess, and that makes it hard. Yeah, yesterday was a hard day, but I kind of went full circle from, I can't do this again. I literally told Grant, can't do this again, because I don't want to go through this pain and disappointment again, to, I'm ready to do it again next week. Like, we got to talk to the doctor. We're going to talk to the doctor at the end of this week. Yeah. When we know how everything is panned out and we know how our embryos are doing, if they've survived, you know, what the plan is basically, which I hate saying that. I hate actually saying that, because I want to be 100% positive. They're all going to be good.
You know, we may want to do another stimulation cycle with a little bit of a optimized regimen.
Yeah, we have to change really things.
To just do that now, so that we have, you know, a full bank, you know, like we want, so that really takes a lot of the pressure off going forward.
Yeah, because the idea with that, this is something that we'd already talked about even before we've had all these discouraging phone calls and everything, just because I'm younger in my 30s right now. if we have a successful transfer, happy baby, growing our family, but we don't have anything banked, you know, then I'm working with older eggs. And there are drawbacks basically every year, especially when I already have other stuff going on. And going into this, we did not realize that we were gonna have fertilization problems. We didn't know we were gonna have immaturity problems. And you know, those are things that you have to tweak the medicine, you have to tweak the timing of everything. Everything is just so delicate. And basically, like what they were saying last night, is like the first one is kind of just a test. They have to see how you're going to respond. They have to see how it's all going to go. Like, they didn't know there was going to be issues with my egg retrieval. You know, that lady didn't know it was going to be so difficult. We didn't know. We don't know anything. So obviously going into another stimulation, it would be different. My medication would be different. The timing would be different. And that's what we want. We want it to be different so we're more successful.
I mean, I'm sure that we would do an ICSI up front.
Yeah.
They'll probably have, you know, the head embryologist, you know, kind of there ready to probably process things on the day. I think knowing all that makes it a little bit easier to go through it again.
Okay, sorry. The camera died on me because I've been talking about this for so long. Basically, at this point in IVF, I will say, if you're looking at this as something you might have to do, obviously outside of all the financial stuff, which is a hurdle in itself, the stimulation with all the meds and the shots, you can do it. You can do it. It's not fun, obviously. Nobody wants to get shots every day, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not really scared of needles, so I know that's something that people deal with, but you can definitely do it. It hurts, but it's not that bad. And really, compared to the birth control, it did not have as many negative side effects for me. Obviously, everybody's different, but I just want to say that and be encouraging if I can. So basically, that's where we are. I'm definitely in a much better place mentally today compared to yesterday, just because we got all that bad news yesterday. And I just felt so like isolated and alone and sad and scared and defeated. And you know, with like COVID and everything, you can't like go out and like do anything to like distract yourself. And I don't know, do you want to talk about how you've been feeling?
Yeah, it's just been, I mean, you come into this and you say, all right, well, we got a good plan. I bet, you know, it's gonna work out for us. You know, we just gotta get some eggs and everything's gonna work and everything's gonna line up. And after this one, we're gonna be good. I mean, that's what you're visualizing. We're gonna be good. We're gonna have a really good set of frozen embryos. And then it's sort of at our pace. Then you kind of realize that you don't really have any control over the timeline. You know, this is going to be a longer process. This may be more involved. There may be more steps that you were thinking, oh, we're not going to have to do that. Well, you know, you don't know. And so you wake up, it's almost like you wake up every day into this process and things could be completely different. You know, one phone call could change everything for you. You know, you have to be pretty flexible. It could be another stimulation. They get us halfway there, and then it's not till third time. Oh, now next time's gonna be the one, and then
I don't want that.
Yeah, so you don't want that, and it is.
But it's the reality of so many people's situation. I know there are people that do IVF and it works the first try. I know that happens, but I think that's more rare than you realize. So unfortunately, it's a very expensive experiment that we did on me. We know more now, so hopefully that increases our chances for the next time since we have more information. I guess that's it. That was a lot of information. I'm sorry to throw all that on you, but I know so many of you guys are rooting for us and you support us and you want the best for us. You've been eating cookies, you've been praying, you've been thinking happy thoughts, and I appreciate that so much, like you wouldn't even believe. And I think Grant appreciates it too.
Sure.
Even though he's not the one always saying it. I just wanted to fill you guys in because I haven't really been on my story the past few days. I just haven't really felt up to talking about it. Today I'm feeling better. So don't be sad for me. We're still being positive. By the time this video comes out, it will be day 6. There will still be more news after that. So we'll know more by then, but this is what we know for now. This is what we've been through so far. It has been a month of a week. You know, it's been a year of a week. It's been one of the wildest weeks we've ever had in our marriage together, in my life maybe. But I think that we do feel ready to do it again, which is kind of crazy to say. It's really crazy to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to take it step by step.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not thinking, oh, we're gonna have to do this 3 more times or whatever. You just
saying,
say, well,
one foot in front of the other. One more shot,
yeah.
2 more shots. 9 p.m.
Now it's just waiting for that call.
Yeah.
So.
We're gonna be okay.
Yeah. You're doing great, sweetie.
I'm doing my best.
You're a rock.
You're the rock.
You're a rock.
You're the rock. All right. That's our update. I hope it wasn't too confusing. It was confusing for us, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was confusing for you. I think we're gonna do a recipe. Generally, we've been trying to stay low carb, but like I said earlier, I have not been fully low carb since after the retrieval, because my doctor said the main part of it that you really need to focus, and you don't need to, it's just something that has been shown to increase your chances. Well, obviously not that much, but apparently it's something that's beneficial, and we wanted to do everything we possibly could. So we're pretty strict low carb until the day of the retrieval. She was like, you don't have to do it anymore. Like, it's really just important for the stimulation and the egg retrieval. So I had Chick-fil-A the day of the retrieval afterward. And then let me show you something. I think it was on Friday, I received the sweetest care package, literally the sweetest. I got a whole bunch of cupcakes from Sprinkles, and they were sent by Sunday Riley. Obviously, this is like above and beyond sweet and thoughtful for a brand to do, and it really, really brightened my day. They actually sent me a really, really kind note as I was doing, I think, my last IUI. It's just, their team and their social media people are on it. They are so sweet. And I mean, when you are feeling that bad, and I was feeling that bad, a cupcake can really turn things around. And if I'm gonna cheat on low carb, which I was totally prepared to do, this is how I want to do it. I've eaten a couple of them. Grant has eaten a couple of them. We shared some of them last night. They're obviously dwindling at this point, and the letters don't quite make sense, but they used to make sense, and they were really, really cute. I'll insert a picture here. Anyway, that is the main way I have gotten off the low carb train, and it's been worth it. Okay, I kind of feel like I might have cashews in my teeth right now. Please ignore that. Right now, I'm gonna get started on dinner. Like I said, I have a new recipe that I'm pretty excited to try, and that's kind of rare for me. I don't usually get excited about recipes, but I've been thinking about this one for about a week. I found it from a site that my little sister told me about. She likes to cook low carb, so she's told me a lot of super helpful things along the way. And this recipe is keto stromboli. I'm such a nerd. I always print out my recipes because I'm always convinced like I'm gonna love this and keep it forever. So I always print them out. I've never actually had stromboli. It's a stuffed bread. Grant's had it before. He said it's really good. Maybe it'll make it even better for me because the first time I'll be trying it is low carb, and probably the real thing is ultimately better. That's usually how it goes for most things, but this just sounds really, really good to me. Oh, and I forgot to say what the actual site is. I will put the links in the description if it's good, of course, but the site is I Breathe, I'm Hungry, and she has tons of low carb and keto recipes that my sister says are really, really good. So I just went on there and browsed, found this one, and now we're doing it. So I've got all or most of my ingredients here, and we're gonna get started on the dough first. Hello. Our oven cooks pretty quick, and so it was actually done about 8 minutes early. It smells really good and it looks very done. All right, we have cooled as much as our patience will let us, and we're just gonna cut right into it. I think this is supposed to be 6 servings.
Wow, this looks great.
Let me see.
This looks just like dough. Cuts and feels just like real dough.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Really good. Basically, this recipe is cheese on cheese within cheese, filled with cheese and a little bit of meat. So trying to double up on the salad a little bit to balance it out. I don't even know if balancing it out is an option with this. I like it. I love it.
That's a 10.
I would suggest this even if you're not doing a low carb thing. If you love cheese, you will love this. Would you recommend this recipe?
To everyone.
To everyone. All right, so I'm just about to get ready for bed and I'm gonna finish out the vlog. I really appreciate you guys being here. And of course, as I usually do, after talking about everything, I kind of replay things in my head, and I really hope that I don't sound ungrateful or like I'm not hoping for the best still, because I very much am still hoping for the best, holding out hope. It's just basically from everything that we've learned about IVF, how things work and how things progress. You want to kind of, I guess, manage your expectations in a way, and I guess that's what I'm doing. But I don't want to sound like I'm just all doom and gloom and super negative, because we are very much holding out every last shred of hope that everything goes well. But at the same time, I am positive and prepared to need to do it again. Obviously, everything is still completely up in the air. We're gonna learn so much more this week. I'll fill you in on everything next weekend in the next vlog. But above all else, I appreciate you guys being here. And I appreciate you guys, you know, I don't know, giving me space, giving me room, giving me privacy and respect for whenever I say, you know, I'm not ready to talk about something, I'll talk about it later, like I have on my story. And you guys are just really supportive and respectful, and I do feel like I've really gotten lucky with you guys finding my channel and, you know, being there for me and just hearing my story for what it is and staying positive with me and hearing me when I'm hurting and supporting me as best you can. I can't thank you guys enough, and I'll definitely fill you in when we know more. We are hoping for the best. We appreciate your prayers and your positive thoughts and the cookies and everything, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. I love you. Bye.